So hello everyone and welcome to Art Salon. I'm Ellie Shore and I've been running the art salons for 3 years now. Our program tonight is one of several that we've had recently that have had to do with activist art. I don't know if you call yourselves activist artists, but I'm going to use that word. We've had several different people who've taken issues that are really important to them and use their creativity to get the word out. And I see that very much as what Lori Pratico and Elizabeth Sanjuan are doing. They are working with the idea that girls and women traditionally in our society have not been noticed. And even though that's changing, there's still a lot of work to be done, and the whole building of self-esteem and of self-empowerment is an ongoing project. And they've created a project that is going to go on for the next 3 years. It's called Unnoticed, and it is a mural project of charcoal murals that is going to be created in all 50 states over the next 3 years. It's a huge project. There are 2 people who are doing it. One is Lori Pratico, who I know as a portrait painter, who has focused on painting mostly women, but always portraits, mostly women, people who have dared to be different, and particularly girls and women who have dared to be different in some way. And that is a way that she has expressed things that are very important to her, and also has gotten known as an artist in Broward County and throughout South Florida. She also is a mural painter and has a background in billboard painting that goes back 25 years and has then gone into her own fine art. Elizabeth Sanjuan is someone who is known in South Florida both as a photographer and as the owner of Gallery 2014 in Hollywood, which has been in Hollywood for just 2 years now. And she and her husband have also created the Sanjuan Brown Hollywood Arts Foundation. And it's a nonprofit foundation dedicated to promoting the arts and art education. I know Lori Pratico because she and I were both part of something called Artists as Entrepreneurs, which is a program that Broward County provides for artists. And every June, Broward County gives this training. It's 4 weeks on Saturdays, very intensive training into the business of being an artist. And every year they do a curated exhibit of people who have graduated from that program. And Lori was in that 1 year and I was in that another year. And it's a wonderful exhibit, but the program is amazing. And it's every June and it's only $100 and you should know about it. It's open to anyone. So here are Lori Pratico and Elizabeth Sanjuan to tell you about their work.
Thank you. So the first image was my first official introduction to a photography class, and that was in 2010. I had been photographing prior to that, but without any training, any formal training. I just picked up a camera and kind of try to figure it out myself and go. I had the great honor and pleasure of working for American Airlines for 22 years before this current career of mine, and it gave me the opportunity to travel. I wasn't a flight attendant, but I worked in Miami. But the great thing about working in the airlines back then, you could trade with people and you could take off as much time as you wanted, as long as there was a body for a bar to take care of how much time you took off. So it gave me an opportunity to see the world, and I'm up to 75 countries so far. I have a plan to hit 100 countries by the time I'm 60. I'm 50 now. So I have 25 countries to do in 10 years, plus a 3-year mural project covering 50 states in the U.S. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I think we can do it.
She's a busy lady.
Yeah. So through my travel, I learned to observe people. I love observing people and seeing how they interact with other people, and just their customs, the culture. I think everybody, if they have the opportunity to travel, they should. I mean, there's, even in the US, you can do it from south to north to east to west. We're all so different, and we're all so unique. With her, I smoked a giant cigar that she had rolled, and this is in Myanmar. I went before Hillary Clinton did. And we had a good time. She spoke no English, but we shared a nice cigar together, and it was great fun. Through the years of traveling and experiencing photography and getting to know different cultures, I fell in love with art. I actually purchased my first piece from Coconut Grove Art Gallery when I was 18, and they were lucky to give me the ability to pay on a payment plan. I bought a Gorman piece, which I still have to this day, and I couldn't pay for it all at one time, so they let me pay little by little. So I started collecting artwork from everywhere that I traveled, aside from images of people and landscapes. It's basically what I'm attracted to. There's a little girl in Jordan. And throughout my travels, my husband would come with me, and I would go off and shooting, and in 2006, we went to India for the first time, or 2005. And he's an engineer by trade, but didn't really know how to draw or paint, but he had a great depth perception. And I said, okay, instead of me leaving you alone for umpteen hours, you have to figure out a hobby. So I picked up a paper and a pad and said, here, start sketching. And fast forward almost 10 years from that trip, and he was entering retirement. And I said, okay, now we're going to find another hobby. I learned that. That's in Italy. So I said, okay, let's find a little place where we can do my photography and his art. And that's how we opened up the gallery, which became much bigger than what we had originally anticipated. And went on Amazon, bought all the books on how to open, run, and manage an art gallery, and how to sell, commission, price. I mean, it was a really huge learning curve. But luckily, in 2 years, we've done pretty good, and we've created a very nice reputation within the community. And I have an amazing group of artists. We represent about 15 artists locally, and then we have some that are from mainly Asia. It's been a wonderful experience. And in those 2 short years, I had the pleasure and honor of meeting and working with Lori. And the funny thing is, when Lori brought this project to me, she made an appointment with me, which she never does. And she came in her business clothes, and she had a folder, and she was a nervous wreck. And I said, it's me, what's going on? And she presented to me the project. And she said, well, I want to do this, this, and this. And I need a photographer to kind of document, and I have somebody in mind. And after I told her I love the project, I was like, okay, can I be your photographer? And then she said yes, and that's how I'm involved in the project. Aside from my husband and I supporting it financially, a lot of our contributions do go to Lori's project. Since it is a 3-year mural project across the states, it's going to take a lot of airfare, hotels, car rental, food, you know. So logistically, it will cost some money, but luckily it's been a well-received project, and we have T-shirts for sale. And
all right, we're going to get to
you
that.
go there.
She's very modest. She's one of the most talented people that I have met, and she's very modest about her talent. She's not someone that shows her photography. Just the fact that she's got these slides up here and she's showing you her photographs is a big deal, because I think in the entire gallery, she's had about 2 pieces that are framed and hung in the gallery of 2 years that I've been there. So she's very modest about it. It's something that definitely comes from here with her. And the idea of other people and how they receive it wasn't real appealing to her in the beginning. And now she's seeing, well, when you know, obviously it comes from here and everyone sees that, which why when she asked me if she could be the photographer, I jumped at the chance. This picture she chose, which is actually kind of funny, because this was my first solo show at the gallery. And prior to this show, the extent of my fine art training, 1985, Teen Beat magazine, I drew the guys. That was pretty much it.
Did you draw Travolta?
I drew John Travolta, Ralph Macchio. John Stamos, just a sexy guy taking his shirt off. You know, that was what I did all the time. And I had no encouragement from my family to do art. And it's funny, I was looking through these and I thought to myself, you know, maybe it was a good thing my parents didn't encourage me to go to art school, because this would have been my portfolio. And the rejection I probably would have received may have just totally squelched any chance that I had to becoming an artist in the future. So what I did do is I had graduated high school and my parents' aspirations were I should become a secretary or a nurse or another good respectable job for a woman before I get married and have kids. And I wasn't really feeling that. So I went through the phone book, which at those times we had phone books, and I looked under schools, and anything that had the word art attached to it, I wrote to and said, I don't have any money right now, but I'm going to go get a job, and in about 6 months, I will have money, and I'd like to come to your school. Can you please tell me what I need to do? So one school did write me, and it was a sign painting school in Philadelphia. And I took their sign painting course, and 6 months into taking their sign painting course, they held me to my word and said, well, now you need to pay us. And I got my very first job with Oscar Mayer in Philadelphia. And this was the very first sign painting job I had.
All right.
Very first sign I painted was the Oscar Mayer logo on the Wienermobile. And they are called Wienermobiles. Oscar Mayer also would go around the city of Philadelphia, and on every corner there was a deli or a hoagie shop. And they sold their lunch meats to them. So that meant their logo went on the outside of their store, along with all the advertisements for the store. And I went around the city painting those signs. So that was my first job. I didn't work there real long, a couple months, and I got another job at Atlas Sign Company in Philadelphia, which was a billboard, mainly known for doing billboards and neon and large signs. It was about as glamorous inside that building as it is on the outside. No heat, no air conditioning, all men, and me. And flies, lots of flies. Yeah, they love oil paint. I learned more in that building in the 1 year that I worked there than I've probably ever learned. And I still use almost everything I learned that year in what I do today. I learned how to paint on every surface. But more important, and I learned a lot of tricks and measuring and scaling and doing things like that. But more importantly than anything is I learned to not be afraid of anything when it came to art. You literally just had to do what you were going to do. You couldn't think about it. You just, because you were up there, okay? And we would tie all of the buckets of paint on the back of the scaffold. And the scaffold was about 2.5 to 3 feet wide. And you were 50, 60 feet in the air. It was scary. And we were doing things like this that were, you had to blend and you had to make it look like something, and it just wasn't lettering, and then there was lettering and you had to spell it right, and there was a lot involved in making this look right. And you were 2 feet away from it and you couldn't step back and look at it. You just went up and down this on these ropes. You went up and down the billboard. So I learned how to visualize something this far in front of my face, what it was going to look like from far away, which really helps me with my murals. And also the different surfaces. I never know what kind of surface I'm going to get with the murals. So that was in my early 20s. I was young and dumb. That's why I climbed billboards. But I was in my early 20s when I was doing this. And when I was 23, I got pregnant with twins. And the paint that we used for signs, I actually, at that point, had a very good, thriving sign business that I had started out of my house. And I was doing everything in my basement, and it was going really well. When I got pregnant with twins, all of the sign paint is lead-based. So as soon as I got pregnant, I stopped painting. And then I was afraid to continue painting after I had the kids because I was doing it from my house, and I knew that all of that was in the air. So for 5 years, I didn't paint. I was a stay-at-home mom with my kids. And I started drawing again. And of course, I drew them. Just as kind of a hobby, I would draw them. And at this point, I had moved to Florida. And people started kind of looking at my drawings and saying, oh, you did that? And I was like, yeah, you know. And I knew that creative part of me was something that was never going to go away, and that I wanted to pursue it more. And I wanted to learn more, but I didn't really know how, because now I was a mom with 4-year-olds, and now I was divorced, and now I was a single mom, and I had to make money, and how was I going to make this happen? But I kept drawing, and I would get commissions here and there for portraits. This portrait was, I think, a changing point for me in my artistic career, because this was the first portrait I was commissioned to do. This portrait, her name's Danielle, and her husband commissioned me to do it for him for their anniversary. It was the very first time I had drawn someone where it not only looked like them, it felt like them. I felt the emotion coming from the piece, and I could sense that I could feel the emotion in her eyes. I could see her vulnerability in the piece, and it really excited me. And I thought, okay, there's more to this portrait thing than it just looking like the person. There's something else that I can tap into here. And that really excited me. And that's when I took the class that Ellie was talking about in Broward County. There were probably about 100 to 150 people in the room, and I knew no one. I did not know one other artist in the room. I was very intimidated because I had no idea that they all had experience and were asking questions that, yeah, I was like, wow, you know, I didn't know anything. I hadn't gone to school for anything. And all I kept hearing was I needed a series. I needed a series of paintings. There had to be a series of paintings to take to the gallery. And I was like, well, how do I do that? Like, what am I going to paint of all the same person? Like, what does that mean? How am I going to make my portraits into a series? So I'm looking around the room and I'm thinking during it, and I said, well, I'm going to do a series of women and their tattoos, and I'm going to call it Ink. And in that room, for those 4 weekends in June, I branded my series, and I made a brand, and my brand was Ink. And I started drawing women with tattoos and showing my work at places like Art Serve and the Broward Art Guild and anyone that would basically show it. Now, I had to chase these girls down, okay, because I didn't have any work to show. I was not a well-known artist, and I wanted to draw these women with tattoos, but I don't know anybody with tattoos, so I literally met her at a Barnes & Noble and chased her down and said, please let me draw you. And she thought I was nuts, but it ended up happening. So this was her and her friend. So I would do photo shoots and then draw them, and I was mainly working in graphite and pastel because I did not know how to use any other mediums. Okay, now I was painting with the billboards with oil paint, but that's a lot different than painting a painting, and they don't come in little tubes, they came in cans, so I didn't know how to do it. So I just kept drawing and trying to get better at my drawings, and they were being received well, and I ended up showing my Ink series in about 35 different venues before I went to the gallery. I was showing them everywhere from high-end bars to clubs to restaurants to group shows to galleries. Anywhere that I could hang the whole series, I was hanging them. And people were starting to get to know me for my work. And then I started playing with paint. And in the beginning, my paintings were very graphic because I didn't really know how to blend the paint. So I just kept them very graphic looking. And I started experimenting and painting on wood. This one was on plywood. So I started to get a little bit looser and a little bit more creative. But again, what I started to see was that what I was really liking about doing even these drawings, because when I first started them, it was just about doing a really good drawing of a woman with tattoos. Then all of a sudden, it started becoming about capturing that energy again and capturing and recognizing something in someone and showing that other layer of the person and their personality. And the connections that I was making with the models of was what was really where I was getting something really out of it. And I was learning so many different things about these people, and these were people, some of them I had known for a while, that now I knew in a completely different way because I had taken the time to do a photo shoot of them and draw them, or that I had just met and was getting to know. And what an interesting way to get to know someone, you know, because they do kind of reveal something to you when you're taking their photograph and when you're drawing them. They reveal a part of themselves that isn't necessarily something that's revealed when you're in a room like this in front of people. So now I'm at the gallery. And this has all been great. And like I say, I showed 35 different venues and things were going well. Couldn't seem to sell anything. Everybody liked my work. Everybody really received my work well, but selling it was a different story. And I started to think about how important is that to me, selling it? Because people were suggesting to me, paint movie stars, paint people that have more money, because I was painting a lot of local artists. And they were like, well, they don't have the money to buy the pieces of themselves. So paint people that have more money. And I was like, but I have to feel something to paint it, you know? So it was, those suggestions weren't working for me. And all of a sudden, while I'm sitting there trying to decide what am I going to do with my art career, which way, what direction am I going to go in? Am I going to paint something completely different? Am I going to start painting full figures? What am I going to do? Because just the face isn't selling. People aren't buying someone else's face to hang in their house, no matter how much they like it. And this happened, which Elizabeth's going to explain a little bit what Girl Rising was. Get up.
I know how to talk again.
Yes, you have to talk again.
So, for those of you that don't know, Girl Rising is a movie that's an hour and a half long, and it's about girls' education throughout the world, or their lack of. So it focuses on 9 little girls, various ages, and their struggles just to try to get an education every single day. And this is a fundraiser that I did in October of last year. And what I did is I brought the movie to South Florida. We premiered it at a local theater in Hollywood, and then I had a fundraising event at the gallery afterwards. And the gallery's mission statement, like Ellie said, is, I guess if we want to call it activist art, it's creating global awareness through the arts. So I try to use my gallery and the artists that I have there to strike at different themes that are going around the world. And this really touched me, having traveled and having seen the struggles of women firsthand around the world. I had to do the movie. I had to show the movie.
So Elizabeth did this fundraiser, and I wanted to support it as an artist of the gallery. So I went to the movie, not really knowing a whole lot about it, knowing how much it had touched Elizabeth, the project. And I had heard enough about it to know that it was very moving and definitely something worthwhile supporting. Had no idea what the movie was actually going to be like. And the movie was about several young girls and their plight and their struggles to get an education and the difference that it would make if they had one. And this little girl in particular just really resonated with me and touched me. She was from Haiti, and the earthquake had just happened, and she had been going to school every day, and then the earthquake happens, and now only privileged kids that had the money to go to these little tents and take class could now go to school. And she showed up every day and would sit down with the other kids and be told she had to leave because her parents hadn't paid. But she came back every day. And it just gives me goosebumps even just talking about it. She came back every day, and the resilience and the tenacity of this little girl, and just, you know, I think it says it here, Wadley believes she is meant to do something special with her life. And, you know, it was just that thought alone of her knowing that she had that inside of her, that there was more that she was supposed to do, that she was special, and that made her go every day and sit there until finally the teacher noticed and just said, okay, you can stay.
Well, it wasn't that easy.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that easy.
The teacher would kick her out every day, shame her in front of all the other kids, and say, get out. And she would pick up and go. And then one day she finally said, listen, you could kick me out every single day, and the next day I'm going to be back, and I'm going to come back again and again and again.
That's why I tell you to tell the story.
She's 7. And
yeah.
She found the fortitude to stand up to this teacher and say, okay, kick me out, but I'm going to be back here tomorrow. And the teacher finally, after a couple weeks, was exhausted and said, okay, I give up, you win. And that's how she was able to stay in school. And it's champions like Wadley that really, well, that's why Lori got touched. And
that's what really touched me. So I go home after this movie, and I can't stop thinking about it. And this is me at 7. I don't know if you see the resemblance in the shirt, but that's me at 7. And I was a pretty resilient young kid myself. I pretty much felt like I could do anything and, had that youthful, nothing can stop me kind of attitude. I did not have an easy childhood. I had a lot of challenges in my childhood. And after watching that movie, I started thinking to myself, I think we all as children have that part of us that feels like we can do anything. And it's either squashed at some point in our life, or maybe we never notice it, or it fades away. And sometimes it just takes somebody to notice, somebody to reach out a helping hand, or somebody to say a kind word to keep that going in a kid. And that's what it took for me as a kid. I wasn't getting that from home. I wasn't getting the kind words, and I wasn't getting the encouragement at home. But every now and then from a teacher or from a neighbor or from someone else, I would get that. And that was enough for me to keep being hopeful in my life. And I thought, well, why can't I do that for people? Why can't I give that to little girls? How can I do that? And in one weekend, I came up with Girl Unnoticed. I didn't sleep for 2 days, and I came up with the entire concept of, okay, what if we noticed? What if we noticed what was special about a young girl? And what if we told her? What if we got her to notice it about herself? And then what if we got her to notice it, once you noticed it about yourself, then you saw it in other people? And what if she shared that? And what if the adult women all of a sudden started rediscovering that in themselves? And how could I do that with my artwork? Because people were already looking at my portraits and seeing these girls with tattoos in a different way and saying, oh, I see more than just a girl with tattoos here. You capture something else. What if I could capture that special something in each of these girls and women that I did these portraits of? And how can I make it loud enough that people are going to see it and they can't help but see and hear what I'm saying? And that's where I was like, I'll climb walls. I'll go back to climbing walls. I can do it on a wall. And then I thought, well, gosh, Miami, there's so many murals in Miami and Wynwood, and how am I going to make mine stand out from someone else's? And I was like, I'll do them in charcoal. And you know what? They're going to fade off the wall. Just like our good feelings about ourselves fade away when we're kids. And we can make, it'll have this symbolic meaning. And I basically came up with all of it in one weekend, put it together, and like Elizabeth said, went to her to present it to her. A nervous wreck, because I presented it to 3 people. First person I presented it to was a good friend that I knew would support me no matter what. Showed her first. And sure enough, she said, great idea, this is great. Second person I knew would tell me every single thing that was wrong with it, and that it wouldn't work, and I wouldn't be able to get walls, and I wouldn't be able to get money, and nobody would support it, and I went to her second on purpose, so that I could hear everything bad she'd say and be prepared for that. But going to Elizabeth was the person I really cared what she thought. And I thought, she's either going to wish me well and say, well, we support you as an artist, we love you, Lori, which I knew she did, but you're no longer part of the gallery because you're not going to paint necessarily and bring me 2 paintings a month anymore for the gallery. So I was thrilled when it was received the way it was. So this, which was Girl Rising, these were the shirts for Girl Rising, very quickly became this.
I didn't see this.
And the 2 of us did not sleep for, I started sleeping again. It's a wonderful thing, because now I have even more energy. But we didn't sleep for 2 months. And every morning, first thing, we're texting each other and just, with our ideas and what we were going to do with it. And we launched the project, came up with the idea in November. My father passed away pretty much the weekend after I had said, we said we were going to do this and look for funding and everything. And 2 weeks I was gone, and in that 2 weeks, it was a real reflective time for me. So to come back and start this project then, it was like a rebirth for me. And it's been wonderful, and we've just gone, full force. We had a launch party in January, before we had the launch party, we started asking people to send in videos of why they wanted to be noticed, okay? And I just basically put it on Facebook and said what the project was. We started putting out explanations of what we were gonna do, but we had nothing to show for it yet because I hadn't done anything yet. And we said, send us your videos of why you want to be noticed. And these are some of the videos we got.
Hi, I'm Emilee, which spells Emily. I should be noticed because I'm playful, independent, cheerful, a great friend. I speak 4 languages, sign language, Spanish, French, and English. I love to sing, I love to paint, I love to dance. Please notice me.
My name is Rosie. Notice me for my musical talent. It's awesome. I never give up when it comes to any kind of art. Crafts, music, and paint. A lot of the girls in this world are unnoticed. Girls like me don't get to show off their amazing talent. We have to change that. If pop stars can be noticed, then why can't I? Every girl can be noticed, but they need an audience. Be kind. Be the audience. Show girls out there that it doesn't matter what size or shape you are. If you have something cool to show, show it. I'm Rosie, and I never give up. Notice me.
Rosie's pretty awesome. I don't know this girl. I've never met her. Okay, her mom is a friend of a friend of a friend on Facebook, and you know that's how the word started getting out, and she sent in her video.
Please notice me.
I am a mother, I am a friend, I am a sister, and I am a cancer survivor. Notice me.
I am the girl who survived homelessness, chaos, abuse. I am the girl who was alone, scared, and ashamed. I am the girl who came to find her voice, to grow, to become a mother, to find strength, friendship, love, and hope. I am the girl who's raising 3 children who will never know what it was like to grow up me. Notice me.
So these were the kinds of things we were getting literally 2 weeks after coming up with the concept of the project and putting it out there and just telling people this is what we want to do. And we were watching these videos and crying our eyes out, and just we couldn't believe. I was so happy about the little girls that were saying, hey, look at me, and still had that in them. And then so many of the adult videos that were like this, and it was like, wow, these. And then they were telling me, and Elizabeth, this is the first time I've ever said this. This is the first time I haven't looked at this part of me in my whole life, and this is the first time. And it was like, wow, this is like, it became bigger than me immediately. And in December, we had a launch party, and I had picked my first girl noticed, Veronica, and I hadn't done a mural yet, so I just did on a raw canvas in charcoal, I did a charcoal portrait of her just for the launch party. I had picked Veronica because she'd come to the gallery one night with her mom, and she was super, super quiet, and she's kind of sat in the corner with her sketchbook, and literally no one noticed her. But she noticed everybody that walked in the gallery. She took notice. I saw her looking, and she knew every single person that had come in there. She had taken note of each person. And she was drawing, probably some of them, I don't know, but whatever she was doing, but not one person even knew she was sitting there. It was like she was so overlooked. And I was like, it's not always the popular kid that should be noticed. I'm not out there saying, oh, stand up and say, notice me because you're popular and you're outgoing and you're the prettiest or you're this or you're that. It's that quiet kid that that nobody notices, that needs to know they have value too, that they're valuable also. So I chose her to do the first mural of. We had consulted with a psychologist just to kind of find out what are some of the things and the effects of going unnoticed. How does this affect teenagers and women in general? And what can be the results of being unnoticed? And then we started our first mural in Hollywood.
Great. All right. Hey, it's January 17th. Yep. And here we are at Lori's first wall in downtown Hollywood. And we're excited. This is going to be the beginning of a approximately 3-year project for Girl Notice. So, Lori, give it to me. Tell me the whole...
I'm so excited to finally get on the wall. I'm so excited to finally get this thing going. First mural is going to be of Veronica Calderon. She is a local teenager here in Florida. I picked Veronica because she is someone who had expressed that she kind of lives in the shadows and watches everything that goes on around her. I found that very interesting because that's exactly the type of person I'm looking for, is someone that you might not notice, but she actually notices everything. And I think that's really an interesting thing to look at. I want to get these girls on the walls and everyone start to notice them for the right reasons, and bring them out of the shadows, give them a voice.
So at the end of your 3 years, or during your 3-year process, what is the 2 things that you hope to accomplish with this project?
I'd really like to get my message out there, raise awareness around women's issues and the role the female plays in society. And I just want to take this on as large and broad of a level as I can by traveling with it from state to state. We want to do 50 states in 3 years. Just expose these issues to the largest number of people possible and touch as many people as we can.
Great. And can you tell me also, Lori, how long does each mural, how long do you think it's going to take? How long does the prep time take? And give me a little bit more on the background work.
The preparation, there's quite a bit of preparation that goes into it. We have to find a wall, and we would love your help with finding walls. That would be absolutely awesome. If you live in any state in the United States and you have a wall for us, please let us know. We're also looking for girls, so we have to find the right girl. And we take videos on our website, www.girlnotice.com, which is, you can post a video of why you should be noticed, and you may end up on the next wall. So there's some prep involved with finding where the locale and what we're going to do, and then of course of me coming up with the drawing, and then scaling it to such a large scale, which isn't something I've actually done before. This is new for me, so the wall is kind of going to dictate my process a little bit. It's going to, I'm very excited about the creative process that comes along with this, that as I'm drawing the different textures of the walls, the different colors of the walls, everything that I'm doing is going to kind of dictate how I can do it. And if it's cloudy out, I'm going to have to work fast. So that's another aspect of the project.
So we should be praying to the rain gods while you're working.
Yes, tell them not to come until after, please, please.
Well, good. We look forward to seeing you tonight, and have fun.
Great, thank you. So we painted Notice Me on the wall during Hollywood Art Walk, and they brought the mural tour by, and it all had been approved by the Hollywood Mural Project, and 3 days later, the city painted over Notice Me. So the graffiti patrol got us. And the next weekend was when I was supposed to do the portrait. So, you know what, you're gonna run into things that happen. But as I was painting Notice Me, people came by, and what we have people do, we make it an interactive project. We have people that come by while we're doing the project, fill out Post-it notes, and say why they want to be noticed. So that opens up the dialogue and makes people start to think about why do they want to be noticed. And we get all kinds of things that people write, all kinds of things. So this was the following weekend. painting Notice Me again because we weren't noticed enough the first time. So we're going to paint it again, and we're going to do the portrait today, and I hope everybody's going to come out and cheer us on and take notice and be noticed.
Someone, will she be the one? You never know. And I wonder to myself, are you?
I'm Danielle Samuels, and I'm 13 years old. I think it's important for people to be noticed because it makes them feel special. And when you feel special, you could do so many things that you never thought that you could do.
Are you beautiful? Are you beautiful? On the inside, on the inside.
I actually like the mural project a lot. I think it's a good way so people can come up and look at the wall and they can see what to look for in people when they first meet them.
Hi, I'm Camilla and I'm 13 years old. I think that the mural project is a really good and creative way for girls to know that they're important, that they matter.
Will she be the one? You never know. And I wonder to myself,
Hi, I'm Savannah and I'm 13. Because being noticed gives you a special feeling in your stomach and your brain and everything. It's just like, wow, I can't believe that someone sees something about me. And it's just a feeling of happiness that really should happen.
Do you feel like
on the inside? Where have I been fooled and hypnotized? I just wanna see the truth in your eyes. Are you beautiful? Are you beautiful? Are you beautiful? Are you beautiful? Are you beautiful on the inside? On the inside, beautiful on the inside. I wonder to myself, have I been fooled and hypnotized?
Notice me!
You beautiful.
Thank you. So this is the young girl, Veronica, the day after the mural was complete. And this quiet girl, who I could barely get 2 words out of, it was really amazing to hear the effects that this project had had on her. This is some of the things that she said. She wrote me a very, very long letter, and it was just amazing. When I finished this, she had written me this long letter, and I was busy in my day. I wasn't at a point where I could actually sit down and write her a long letter back telling her how I felt. And all I wrote to her was, I said, I'll write you more later. I said, but I need you to know that if this project ended today, it would have been worth it. Because that's how I felt. This one mural, working with this one girl, and the effect it had had on her, and what she had expressed to me afterwards made me feel like if I didn't do another mural, it didn't matter. This was good enough. But we did. So the mural started to fade off the wall, and that's what is supposed to happen. The charcoal fades off the wall. You have a window of time to notice the girl and notice the special qualities and things about her before they might fade away. And we were pleasantly surprised that people kept coming by the wall and taking their pictures and posting them to Instagram and multimedia and wanting to be noticed in front of the mural. And these pictures were popping up and being sent to us. which was just so awesome. And then we were going to do our second mural. We were asked to be part of the Art Equals Antidote to Hate show in Fort Lauderdale with ArtServe. I've done a lot of work with ArtServe over the years. And when they asked me to be one of the featured artists to show my women with tattoo paintings there, just to kind of show people, you know, not to judge and things like that, I said, well, I would love to do that. I said, but how about you let me do a mural on your wall for the show during the opening? And that's not something that they've ever done. So I didn't know how they'd feel about that. And you know, I didn't know how much they knew about my project yet because I had only done the one wall. And they said, absolutely. And they gave me the main wall of the main, as you walk into the gallery, the main wall coming into the gallery. And they just said, here you go. And it's about the size of this wall. They said, here you go. This is yours. So I thought, okay, I need to find another girl that, and I put a call out on Facebook saying, nominate someone that you think should be noticed and what the show was about. And this girl's mother nominated her and said, my daughter has Asperger's and she's being bullied because kids don't understand she's mainstreamed into regular classrooms and they don't understand the things that are going on with her. And I said, well, what I'd like her to do is just write me a few paragraphs telling me why she feels she wants to be noticed and what her experience is. And this is some of what she wrote me. I realized when she wrote me about 3 paragraphs, typed it on a page, and I realized she never mentioned she had Asperger's. So I chose not to focus on that either when it came to doing the mural, because I thought, well, she doesn't even feel like the Asperger's is her problem. It's the kids that are bullying her that is her problem. And her mother had expressed to me that she loved to sing, and she had stopped singing because she was afraid she was going to get teased. Even on social media now, because she was 13 and she was now on Instagram and Facebook and things like that, the kids were teasing her through social media also. So I did a sketch of Lauren, and that turned into this. We had 250 Post-it notes on the wall. So as the week went on, we left the Post-it notes out on the podium, and people came and they kept filling them out. And it was such a thrill to keep going back there and seeing more and more on the wall and know that that many people had interacted with this piece. And I felt like the message behind this piece should be, you will not silence my song, that was what she needed to hear and what she needed to know, and I hope she'll carry with her. About 2 days after the mural was done, she actually lives in Pennsylvania. After 2 days after the mural was done, she posted a video of her and her father singing on YouTube. So that was pretty awesome. This weekend, we finally went out of state. We got our first out-of-state mural. We went to Michigan. We were there. We got there Thursday. We did the mural on Friday, and we came home on Saturday. So we're in and out. And we accomplished a lot during that time, which is great. It was right across the street from a grade school, so we were able to kind of, talk to some of the kids. One of the teachers, the art teacher, I had gotten in contact with her, and she brought over a group of 4th graders that I was able to speak to. I don't want to just focus on young girls. I want to do women of all ages. I really want to do a senior citizen. That's like high on my list. But, I know that what seems to be happening is the girls come to me, and I had said that early on in the project because we were saying what a challenge it was to get walls in different states. That's our biggest challenge, is finding walls. And, there's a little bit of legwork involved once you have a wall as far as getting the approval and everything. So to find someone to latch onto the project and do those things for us. There's no cost to them, but they just have to go through a little bit of a process. And I said, I always felt like the girls would just kind of come to me. They would appear. And I want a girl from each state that I go to. And this was somebody that was following us on Facebook that we had a mutual friend. I did not know her, but we had a mutual friend, and she was following the project on Facebook, and I knew that she was from the area, and I said, can you nominate someone for me? And she was like, oh, I'm not, she wrote me and said, I'm not sure who I'd nominate, but I'll think about it. And 2 days later, she posted this beautiful thing about her 23 years of sobriety. And I wrote her back and I said, I found my girl noticed. I didn't really need to look that far. And what was interesting is she had never put it out there before that post. She had never, she doesn't talk about her sobriety, and she doesn't say that out loud. And that was the first time she had ever put it out there. And she said, she was tired of being feeling shameful about it and feeling like it was something that was, that she should keep to herself. She wanted to celebrate the fact that she was sober 23 years, because she actually made that decision when she was 21. So not a real popular decision to make when you're 21 years old. So I thought it was great to notice her. And her son came. She came the first day and spent most of the day with us. And then she brought her son by the next day. And he had taken the photograph that I worked from, and he was very proud that he was the photographer in the project for this. So, and the Jefferson Market and Cakery was who had sponsored us and had us come, or hosted us. These are the fourth graders when they came by to hear about the project. Working on the brick was interesting. It was a very deep mortar. Lots of chalk. And that's pretty much where we're at. Now this weekend we're going to St. Petersburg. We're doing a mural on a building that is actually for, it's a thrift store, and all their proceeds go to domestic violence survivors and families, and bringing awareness and helping them. And it looks like we have Alaska under our belt. That looks pretty solid. This week has been real good because Michigan radio came by while we were doing the Michigan mural. It didn't just come by. Well, you can talk.
So the great thing about doing a mural like this is that it takes Lori all day, and sometimes 2 days, which means that I have a lot of time to interact with people. And a gentleman named Frank Wilhelm was on his way to the bakery to get a cookie. And he said, what are you guys doing? I said, well, we're creating a mural. And I explained a little bit about the project. And he said, I'm going to forego that cookie just for a little bit. The public radio station, NPR, is down the road. I'll be back. So he went, knocked on the door. The lady that he usually deals with wasn't there. So he said, okay, give me the general manager. He spoke to him. 20 minutes later, the general manager is coming down the street. And then a little bit later, Frank goes, okay, I'm here for my cookie. And he made the connection happen. Yeah. And Lester from the radio station did a great interview, and it aired yesterday morning. And from that interview, we've already had people from St. Louis and other places reach out to us and say, hey, your project is amazing. Will you come to St. Louis? We're like, yes. So it's just that one person that said, okay, let me forego my cookie, and made the connection happen for us. And funny now, he wrote me an email this morning, and he's like, did you hear the interview? And so I'm very thankful to him, and forever Frank will be my guardian angel from Ann Arbor.
Yeah. I was going to say about the cookie.
I asked him today if he finished the cookie, because he eats it in small pieces. I mean, he's like this tall and this skinny. And I said, "Did you finish your cookie?"
So we're basically 3.5 months into this project, and this is where we've come, and we're so excited. And thank you so much for coming out and listening, and this all just getting the word out and making connections, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you.